People come and ask me, Sadhguru, what to do with my ego? Give him to me, I'll kill him right now. Where is he? No, he comes once in a way.
Namaste, world raisers. Sabine and Roger here, and today we're going to watch how to get rid of your ego.
Can't wait for this one. We're getting some commentators. I like to use the word ego. I use it quite a bit. You know, that's my spiritual evolution. My main teacher, Dr. David R. Hawkins, explained the ego in a certain way, and that's kind of how I see it. Yet, I do not yet know what Sadhguru, how he defines the ego. So I'm looking forward to this video.
When people come and ask me, Sadhguru, what to do with my ego? Give him to me, I'll kill him right now. In the yoga, we say, yoga saha kuru karmani. First establish in your yoga, then act. That's not been done. First is action. When you have first action, this is what happens.
How does one deal with the egos? Or maybe a larger question, how does this whole thing arise and how do you, where does this conclude?
See, a lot of people have taken on this mode. Whenever they do something nasty, they would like to blame it on you, but you are not willing to take it. So they blame it on Mr. Ego. Where is this Mr. Ego? He only comes in when you're nasty. When you're beautiful, when you're joyful, when you're loving, when you're wonderful, Mr. Ego is absent. Only when you're nasty, you want to put it on somebody else because you haven't found anybody else, you have invented one Mr. Ego. There's no such thing. It is just that human beings are right now in a condition where sometimes they're pleasant, sometimes they're unpleasant, sometimes joyful, sometimes miserable, sometimes wonderful, sometimes horrific. This is what they are. Is there anybody here who is 24 hours good, oscillating? This moment you're wonderful, next moment you're nasty, isn't it? So, because of this volatile inner nature, because it's not established, in the yoga we say, yoga saha kuru karmani. First establish in your yoga, then act. That's not been done. First is action. When you have first action, this is what happens. Because you're unsettled, you're going from pleasantness to unpleasantness just about any time with smallest instigation, you have invented Mr. Ego. See, if you say, me and my ego reside within this body, what it means is, there are two of you. If there are two of you, that means you're either schizophrenic or you're possessed. You need either a psychiatrist or an exorcist. So there are no two people. There is only one person here, you are an individual. If you are an individual, what it means is the very word individual comes from the word indivisible. That means you cannot be further divided. If you are an individual, you understand that I am sometimes so nice, sometimes so horrible. If you just realize this, would you want to be horrible? You will not want to be horrible. But this one thing they're dodging by inventing Mr. Ego. When people come and ask me, Sadhguru, what to do with my ego? Give him to me, I'll kill him right now. Where is he? No, he comes once in a way. Whenever you want to pass the buck to somebody, he's always there ready. Instead of that, some people don't go through all that. If they become little religious and if they think they're spiritual, what they will do is, they will give up their ego and they find God. All the nasty things that they do, they say it's God's will. They're taking instructions from him, so you can't argue. People have waged wars, they've done horrible things to each other, the nastiest possible things they have done to each other because they were taking instructions from God. Others are taking instructions from a local guy, which is Mr. Ego.
Wow.
So is that how you understand the ego?
No. I get what he's saying though. So he's talking about the ego as, most people understand it as a sense of pride, right? So the narcissistic core of your inner identity, is what he's labeling as the ego. So it's the, the triggered individual, like when you get triggered, and the nasty side of an individual. So there's only one self, and this is the way that I understand it too, except the ego is encapsulating, from my understanding and the way David Hawkins taught it, it's encapsulating the whole psychological makeup of the mind, right? So any label that you identify as, so from the higher reality, there's the pure, clear light mind, so pure awareness, and then any appearance to that. So you have the ground of the mind, and then anything arising within the mind, such as thoughts, memories, fantasies, and visions of the future, or whatever the case may be. That's all ego. That's the mentally constructed dualistic mind that perceives us as separate individuals, right? So that's all ego, but you have the lower levels of consciousness, which are, negative in nature. So that's, what Sadhguru is saying is the ego. It's the nasty side of the person, right? But since there is no separation, there is only one you, right? So even if you're good, it's still the ego, because it's still your psychological mind is still behaving in the world. So that's still ego, the way that I was taught from Dr. Hawkins. And it's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just the way that it is that your ego is there all the way until full enlightenment. When you attain enlightenment, then you transcend the ego, and then that's the perception of non-duality, like the enlightened mystics of the past, and all of the teachers are teaching us to get there. So liberation from samsara, liberation from suffering, so self-realization. That's the transcendence of the ego, and then where you realize the self in the unity of allness and wholeness. But your ego is along for the journey. So as you raise your level of consciousness, you're purifying that ego. And then even when you get into unconditional love, then it's just a pure being, right? So like he's saying is that we're not nasty all the time, right? So there's that balance between the negativity and then the positivity, but it's still, ego. So from the way I understand it, but I get how he's teaching it as more of ego is the lower levels of consciousness, right? And the higher levels of consciousness above, like in the positive, to be a positive human being, that's more in harmony with our true nature, right? Which is one with the allness, right? So.
Oh, was he actually teaching that? Because I understood that he thinks that we think that it is only the lower levels.
Oh, it could be.
That's how I understood it. It's like, oh, you think that it is only when you're nasty, then there is the ego.
Yeah.
So is there a split personality, or is it all the ego kind of thing?
Yeah, so it could be perceived from both ways. Yeah, so a little bit unsure on what he was teaching there. Maybe you guys can elaborate. Let us know in the comments section what you guys think, the ego is and how to get rid of it. Because I understand it. Well, that's what the video is about. How to get rid of your ego. Yeah. So yes, Sadhguru, please take my ego. You can kill it. But anyways, so the way I understand it is that, the death of the ego, true ego death, and that's popular on the internet and YouTube right now, is ego death, right? But that only truly happens, once you've attained enlightenment, right? Self-realization, and you transcended it. Then the ego dies, and then you're one with non-duality and totality. So that's real ego death, right?
Very advanced.
Yeah. So, but anyways, did we interpret Sadhguru's teaching correctly? We're going to have to dive into more videos on the ego from Sadhguru to truly understand, I think, his take on the ego. But anyways, fascinating video. I loved it. I think just the message and Sadhguru and his just practical, profound everyday wisdom, just teaching people, because not everybody out there is, pursuing enlightenment in this lifetime. We all got busy lives and jobs, and you got to feed the family. But anyways, how do we advance spiritually? Just by being, members of society in this world at this time. So practically speaking, just try to be kinder, try to be nicer, try to be more compassionate and considerate, become more aware, so then you can be mindful of the ego, the negative aspects of your personality, and then keep them in line and in check and surrender them as they arise. So we're not, spewing our ego onto others, But anyways, and then, so we're not polluting, the consciousness field of humanity, right? We're more balanced, and which is helping the field. So if you like this video, please hit that like button and remember to subscribe. It really, really helps the channel. Let us know your comments down below. And remember, raise yourself
and raise the world. Thank you so much, everyone. And a very special thank you to all our members. We love you.
Peace.